What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and thank you for joining me for part 2 of the ATSV build. Today we got a couple of things here. So we got a new GM crate motor in this box here, and we're going to get all that swapped over onto this old K-member for the donor ATSV. We're going to work on getting all that taken care of. I think then we're going to start to tear apart this V, get that one torn apart the rest of the way, start getting things moved over. So hopefully this is an exciting video. One thing I have not talked about in this series yet is exactly why we're getting a new crate motor when I have a ATSV motor right here that seemed to run okay. Well, when I first got this donor car, I went to go get it started because it's a Copart wrecked car. Bought it from Copart. Obviously you can see it's kind of smashed up. It's pretty in bad shape. So it was going to be a donor car no matter what. But I was hoping that it came with a good engine that we'd be able to use just to swap right into that one. So on the day that I picked this up, brought it home, smashed out this rear quarter to get a new battery in it. Once I got the battery in it, the car did start right up, but unfortunately, it ran on about 5 cylinders, blew out a bunch of white smoke. I was pretty worried about all that. So eventually, it all cleared up, but as I watched the engine come up to temperature, kept watching the oil pressure drop more and more and more and more. So by the time it was fully up to maybe 200 degrees oil temp, the oil pressure was showing 8 psi, which is pretty rough. So I'm like, okay, where are we going to start with this one? We did an oil change on this guy. And while that did improve the oil pressure problem dramatically, changed it, and the car did indicate only 16% oil life, so if the car indicated that, it must have been maybe 10,000 miles since the oil had been changed on this. By the time I drained the oil and pulled the filter off it, it dumped some metal out of the oil with the oil. I cut open the filter, saw even more metal shavings inside this engine. So I was like, oh boy. So we have internal problems, and I'm not going to go through all of this work just to put in an engine that's going to need to be torn apart again. So what we ended up doing here is I got a GM crate motor, brand new LF4, but there's a catch. The catch here is that this engine is for a 2022-ish CT4V Blackwing. So while it is an LF4, it's an automatic, came out of what would be an automatic car, which means I do not have titanium connecting rods in this new engine. Now I was a little bit worried about that. Talked to some tuners, and they said, hey, we're not having any issues with tuning the 22 and up, I guess 20 and up 4V Blackwing 10-speed auto with the steel connecting rods. So I was like, okay, we're not worried about that. The reason I did this and went for the engine without the titanium rods is a brand new ATS V engine, and that's also the same part number that goes in the 4V Blackwing with a stick shift with the titanium connecting rods and I guess slightly different pistons. That's in the ballpark of $12,000, a little bit more than that. A brand new LF4, same engine architecture, same engine, everything, except for not titanium connecting rods, was about $2,500. So we're talking about a $10,000 difference for some titanium rods that I don't even really need. If I had a stick shift, I'd like the lower inertial weight of the rotating assembly. I think it'd be a little bit more rev happy, but we got an automatic trans here, so really it doesn't matter for this application. It's not going to be that big of a deal. If down the road I do decide that I want to switch to the titanium rods, I can get a whole set of 6 of them for about $600. So not going to be the end of the world, but we're going to put it together with the steel rods. I think it's going to be just fine for the power levels we're going to be making. So today we got to get this engine out of the back of the truck with this engine hoist, and then we're going to start tearing down, see if we can get the trans taken off of the old K-member, work on getting some of the accessories off it, this old engine, and see if we can go from there. The goal here is going to be to have a new K-member or a new engine sitting on this K-member with everything else. It'll probably look similar to this, but ready to go into my car. So we're going to go from there, get things moving today, and yeah, welcome back. Let's get started. Gradually coming apart, starting to see some similarities between these two. Let's take ports in there. Maybe I'll shine a flashlight, see how those valves are looking. So it's starting to come. It's not too bad, guys. We're getting through it. And these injectors will fight you every inch of the way. Finally figured it out. getting these to come up. Basically, I got the driver's side injector out first, and it's going to go to the front of the engine to come out. And you can see where these little clips are for the wiring harness. They clip in right there. Right there. Oh, we got bad light, but kind of right there and there. You can get them to come out. You pop them with a needle nose. You can get them to push down. Once you do that, jiggle it to the front. Finally, keep working it. Eventually, they'll go and peel out the driver's side one first to the front of the engine. So, making some progress here at least. I was struggling with that for longer than I needed to. Got a little bit of rain cruising out here tonight, but what are you going to do? Yeah, so moving along. So hopefully I didn't hurt the little tips of these guys, getting them to come out. But basically the thing that you got to know that's pretty important here is on this, that injector bore for, I guess that would be number 3 and number 4, it's got a cutout taken out of it. Let's see if I get the focus in there. And so basically it's obviously got a round bore except for this cutout, which is put there to help you get the injectors in and out so you can slide them out of their bore. It's the same thing over here on this one over here on the passenger side. You can see it's got that cutout in the different direction. Basically, I didn't quite need it on the passenger side because it was pretty easy to get out, but getting it out on the driver's side was a little bit tough. So I have to get these rebuilt, at least resealed. Finally, starting to look like there's some similarities between these two. So basically got the transmission off, got a couple of these turbos off here. Still working to get the rest of the front drive off of here. I mean, look how jank this is, guys. I know, you don't have to tell me, but we're getting it done at least. It'll be okay in the end. There's our 8L90 pouring out fluid on the ground. I think that's an indication of why it didn't shift so well, is that this fluid looks terrible. So anyways, we got her still coming apart. Looks okay now. I'm looking at it through the camera lens, but yep, continuing on, making a big old mess. All right, well, I think maybe next time let's drain the fluids before we do anything to the car. Got this engine up off the K-member finally, showing some progress, which essentially means that bar this oil cooler, which I definitely can easily access now, that we're going to be ready to start reassembling at least some portion of this project. We've been on the disassembly phase for a while now, but it's going to be all about getting that new engine on the K, basically getting everything all set up again. There's a lot of work to do in terms of getting that going, but I think at least it will go faster and be more fun. Look at this, we got an engine off the K-member on the ground, fully stripped down, maybe bar the ignition coils. I think what we're gonna do now is try to get this new engine on the K-member. I already got some motor mounts bolted up to it, that kind of thing. So excited to hopefully get some of these parts back on an engine, clear up a little bit more room in the shop here, and then hopefully, finally, like I've been saying this whole time, we can start to get this car broken down. So we got an engine on a K-member, maxing out its motor mounts. Hopefully it doesn't hurt it. Old engine on the crate, getting ready to go back. All right, carrying on a little bit, getting these fuel injectors put back together. Basically got these new bushings on here, which are these guys here, which essentially lock the injector into the fuel rail. They want you to replace those when you go and do these, and gonna keep getting the rest of the seals on here, so at least they gave me some instructions. But kind of carrying on, definitely realizing that anything to do with direct injection is significantly more intensive than anything with port injection, which is kind of what I'm more familiar with. So anyways, carrying on. So making some progress, doing some fun stuff. Kind of just throwing this wiring harness back over the engine, starting to get it all put back together. Finally something a little more exciting. So luckily everything's plugging in except one non-essential piece, but still is going to bug me. The oil level sensor has a different connector on it. The new motor versus the old one. If you look up the pan, you'll see the difference, but it is there. So that's a little, that kind of sucks. Doing this, kind of throwing this back together. I'm excited to get this engine and K-member, transmission, suspension, cradle, whatever you want to call it, all put together, because that way I can kind of just shove it into a corner and then start doing a bunch of stuff on the body of these cars, getting the wiring harness moved over, getting the dash moved over. So hopefully that goes okay. I hope that there's a way that I could pull this dash out without taking it completely apart. I want to just pull the whole thing as an assembly. That'd be pretty sweet for me. So we're going to see if that's possible. All right, so we got the flex plate bolted up, torque to yield bolts yielded, torqued. We got a trans, which I'm holding up with my leg right now. Going to throw that up there, get it mounted up, get some flex plate, or some, flex plate to torque converter bolts going in. So we're ripping here, a million miles an hour. Guys, 809E back bolted up to an LF4. Got a couple flex plate bolts to go in to the torque converter, get all that stuff lined up again. But we're cooking here, guys. Did a little bit of tool cleanup, trying to keep this place as clean as I can because it's a limited space. But yeah, starting to get things kind of put back together here. So feeling pretty good about that. This is actually moving along pretty good. So like I said, right now, the plan is going to be get this basically engine, transmission, subframe, K-member, suspension, all that shit. Get it all put together, and it'll get tucked away maybe into that corner. And then I'm going to bring the my car in, and we'll get ripping on that. All right, rode the struggle bus getting this oil cooler all back on and reattached and everything, because you're really supposed to have the engine off the cradle. But we got it done one way or another. So yeah, basically got that installed. Gonna start to get some turbos plumbed up, I think, is what's gonna be next here. This was one job I didn't want to do, but it's done now. Let's see, we got some coils on and installed, spark plugs re-gapped, reinstalled. We got the rest of the fuel system kind of put together back here, maybe barring just one, just that fuel pump cover basically. Then we got some cooling system stuff to go down here. But at least we're making progress. The pile of parts that came off this whole thing is getting smaller. So here we go. All right, got a pair of turbos on here. It's looking good. And the original down pipes. I actually started to loosen up these down pipes as I was taking the turbos off, because I was thinking I was going to put some aftermarket down pipes on it. I'm not doing that yet. It's hard to actually trick the car into not throwing a check engine light. And B, it's another $1,000 for renting down pipes right now, and I mean, we're going to get this project off the ground before we go and do that. And see, they're easy, relatively easy and accessible after they're all installed and everything. So it's not like I'm going to, it's not like I'm installing something that's in the valley or something like that that's going to have to come back out. So this will be an easy swap. So yeah, turbos, oil cooler. We're kind of just slowly chipping away. We got lower intake manifold on, throttle body installed, which is a, as you might see right there, solar performance. That's one of 2 mods that are installed on this thing so far. That and this upgraded fuel pump hopefully should give us some fun E85 stuff. Here's the stocker for example. And so yeah, we basically got the upper intake to throw on. Rest of the turbo heat shields, coolant crossover, it's all coming. Look at this thing, we got a lid on it finally. This is the second time this lid's been on after I discovered this little PCV hose. Was tucked the underway in there, which was fun. But yeah, got the lid on it, turbos, everything. It's all kind of coming together. Starting to put some of these PCV lines on, getting vacuum things figured out. Have some connectors to plug in yet, but yeah, it's coming along. Look at this thing, pretty much all put back together. Just got a couple wiring things to knock out, but yeah, man, look at this. We're all pretty much put back together here. Accessories on it. We even got a belt on this thing. This upper basically boost control circuit is all in and everything like that. Just gotta get this kind of cradle side all hooked back up. got like power steering and a couple other things on it. But yeah, we'll do all that, and it's maybe where we'll leave it for today. Look at this thing. We got a whole powertrain here. I bet you they run this entire powertrain on a dyno transmission too, most likely, when they're building these cars, just as a kind of early on test. But yeah, I mean, this pretty much concludes the engine build segment of this part. So basically what's going to happen is going to do some more cleanup. We're going to get this car in the shop and start ripping it apart. Here's the finished engine and trans combo. Get the shop cleaned up a little bit. Gonna pull that car in, start wrenching on it. All right, got this thing pulled in. It was sitting for a while and it didn't have a dead battery, but it was actually out of gas. So I'm not quite sure what happened. I know I parked it with very little gas in it because you know, I'm gonna be dropping the tank out of it, so I didn't want to have to worry about having a bunch of fuel above my head. But this thing had no gas. It started and ran for about a minute and shut off. So I had to go buy a gallon of gasoline to put in it. Just to get it to run and pull in. So that was interesting. But yeah, going to start pulling things apart here, pull the battery off it, and then I guess start pulling the motor out of this one. So here we go. Starting to get good at taking these things apart. We got this one pulled in. Yeah, basically put it up on jack stands, dealing with this unlevel floor, which is interesting. But yeah, already got the bumper off, fender, a couple headlights. Got another fender to pull off, the rockers. So it's all starting to take the wheels off. It's all starting to come apart here. All these parts are going to be up for sale too. So if anyone needs a fender or anything like that, an ATS, let me know. But yeah. So it's all coming apart pretty easily, and we're moving along, kind of getting into a groove here. A little while later, we got just took off the core support. Obviously got this other fender off it. Pretty much the goal is to just get the motor out of this thing. So I guess I got to get under the car, disconnect the exhaust. What's going to be left? The exhaust, the drive shaft, and I got a fuel line up here, and that flex fuel sensor. So car's going to apart pretty quick. Gonna have a there's going to be so many parts. I don't even know what I'm going to do with all this stuff. But what are you going to do? Not that much more than the last update, but you know, a couple AC lines, fuel lines, coolant, that kind of thing. But I think this is basically the the second episode of the build. So we got the new car with the old one, and yeah, it's time to start kind of piecing things together to create one solid car. So we got a new engine waiting for us. So basically, I think right now, after this, the next video you can expect getting this engine out, swapping the interiors over, the electronics, the rear subframe. We got fuel tanks and some lines. So get all that stuff swapped over, start putting things back together. I'm hoping this car is going to be back on the road soon. Really, really excited to have an ATSV. I'm not going to lie. I've been you know, doing all the research, and basically, I mean, this is going to be an ATSV. There's not any stone that's going to be unturned that's going to differentiate my car from an ATSV other than just the VIN number. It's literally going to be every single part. So super stoked, feeling good. But yeah, thanks for watching. This has been fun. We got another one. Whoa, dealing with the light. We got another cool video that's going to come out here soon. But till then, I'll catch you guys.